cheated on and betrayed. My wife's affair was exposed by her own parents. They took our fortune and offered it to me. Now I'm torn between justice and morality as I face a $2 million dilemma. My wife cheated. Her parents exposed her. And now they want me to inherit their fortune instead of her. Now I'm torn between justice and morality. My wife, Emily, who's 27, and I, James, at 29, had been married for a year. But recently I filed for divorce after finding out she'd been cheating on me with one of her co-workers. It was actually her parents who spilled the beans about the affair and told me to file for divorce ASAP. Emily is their only kid, and her folks are millionaires who run a huge pharmaceutical company. We met on a dating app about 3 years back and clicked right away on our first date, so we've been together ever since. After living together for a year, I decided to propose, and we tied the knot soon after. Her parents, let's call them Richard and Susan, were really cool people and always seemed to like me. In fact, Emily used to joke that I was the son they never had, and it really felt that way, because from the moment I met them, they treated me like family. They were warm and kind, and didn't act all high and mighty. Even though they were loaded, they stayed down to earth and humble, which was one of the things I loved most about them. I don't have a great relationship with my own parents. I grew up in a pretty messed up household. My parents didn't love each other, but stayed together because they thought it was best for me. So they fought almost every day, and none of us were happy. Neither of my parents was very affectionate. And even though I still talk to them, and they're still married, things haven't changed. Family dinners feel more like a chore than something any of us actually want to do. But with Emily's family, it was a totally different story. I felt like they were my own people, and I got super comfy with them real fast. So I always knew they liked me. But I never thought that if push came to shove, they'd choose me over their own daughter. And that's where I'm at right now, because they want to make me the heir of their inheritance since Emily had been cheating on me. And they want to make it up to me. I'm not sure whether to take it or not because Emily is pretty pissed about it. And at the end of the day, it's rightfully hers. And I'm only getting it because she cheated on me, and her parents spilled the beans. I'm emotionally wrecked, but I still don't get if it would be the right thing to do. And I definitely do want to take that money since it's $2 million. I had a lawyer look over everything and found out that it's a crazy amount of money that I'll be taking away from Emily if I accept my in-laws' offer. So I'm really torn about what to do right now. Emily and I have always had a pretty smooth and loving relationship. We'd have little spats like any other couple, but we always managed to work them out. So when my in-laws invited me over to their house, just me, and told me they wanted to talk about something super important, I had no clue they were going to drop the bomb that Emily had apparently been cheating on me with a co-worker of hers. Emily worked for her dad's company and was in charge of recruitment. It was a family business, so it was easier for them to keep tabs on her, and they had noticed that she was spending a ton of time with one of their newest recruits. What was really gross was the fact that the guy she was having an affair with was much younger than her. He had just graduated from college and was barely 21. It was legal, but it was just so weird that she, despite being happily married, felt the need to go looking for love outside of her marriage. They had seen how close the two of them were getting, and even asked Emily about it just to keep things straight. But she told them they were just good friends, and nothing more. That was all there was to it. No funny business going on. It was worrying for them too, because not only was it bad for our marriage, but it could also lead to some serious lawsuits since Emily was in a higher up position compared to the guy she was messing around with. If they broke up, he could totally use it against the company and sue them if he felt like it. So my in-laws asked her a bunch of times if there was anything they should know about their relationship, but she insisted it was strictly professional, and there was nothing more to it. Unfortunately, as much as her parents wanted to trust her, they just couldn't, because even though they warned her about hanging out with that guy, she wouldn't listen and kept meeting him outside of work. They didn't tell me about it at first, because they didn't think it was their place to say anything. It was possible that this was just an innocent friendship, but things got to a point where her parents felt they had to step in. So they did something about it and hired a private detective to follow her and keep tabs on her. They were pretty well off, so money wasn't an issue, and they got a pro to do the job by sending a detective after Emily. They found out that she was out a lot after work hours. She would tell me she was hanging out with friends or still at work, and I would believe her. But her parents told me that wasn't true. Every day she would leave after her workday ended and go straight to her partner's house. Then she would spend the next couple of hours there before coming back home. None of us were stupid. We knew that if she was lying to me, then there was definitely something shady going on at his place. I was absolutely crushed when I found out because I really love Emily, and I still do deep down, but learning that she had been cheating on me and lying to me for the past few months really shattered my heart. This all went down about a week and a half ago, and I still remember that meeting with my in-laws and how devastated I felt after it. Even they were pretty upset while they were breaking the news to me, but they said that they knew Emily was never going to come clean, so they figured it would be better if they told me themselves. At the time, they hadn't let Emily know that they were aware of the truth, and I was the first person they told. I totally broke down in front of them when they spilled it, and I was really lucky that they comforted me like they were my own parents. They told me that this was not my fault, that they had seen how I treated Emily like a queen, and this was all on her. She just couldn't appreciate the love that she had been given by her parents and me, and threw it all away for some guy she had barely known for a year. I remember crashing at their house that day because I just couldn't face going home to Emily, and they were kind enough to let me stay the night. I was totally shaken up, and I cried the whole night because I just didn't know what to do next. Logically, I knew that the next step would be to file for a divorce, but my heart wasn't ready to let go of her yet. So the next morning, I decided to head back home before Emily left for work. I hadn't answered any of her calls or texts the night before, so it was a bit of a shock for her when I showed up in the morning, right before she was about to leave. I was clearly in a really bad state, and she seemed worried, but I sat her down and asked her about the affair because that was the most important thing on my mind at the time. She hesitated for a bit and tried to deny it, but then I showed her the pictures that her parents had given me of her car parked outside of her co-worker's house on the days that she had told me she was working late. She tried to tell me that they were just friends and they were hanging out, but then there was no reason for her to lie about it. So she finally had to come out and tell me the truth, that she had been cheating on me with him. The second that she told me that it was true, she had been having an affair, I broke down once again. And this time, it was much worse than before, because when it was just her parents saying it, I still had some hope, and I was hoping that it would not be true, and maybe it was just a misunderstanding of some sort. But after I had heard it from Emily's mouth, there was no denying it anymore, and I had to accept the fact that she had actually been cheating on me. I was hysterical, and I don't even remember what I said to her, but I only remember a lot of screaming and shouting. She had also started to cry, and she was trying to tell me that she was being stupid and had lost sight of what was important because she was feeling a little bored in her marriage. But she had never expected me to find out because it was just a fling, and it didn't mean anything to her. And that made things even worse because if it didn't mean anything to her, then there was no reason for her to be doing it anyway. The fact that she had ruined our marriage because she was feeling a little bored just got to me. I remember yelling at her about how I had trusted her and always been there for her, but she had thrown all of it away for some guy that she barely even knew. And I think I continued to shout at her until I had made her dissolve into a puddle of tears. At one point, things got so bad that she was on the floor crying with her head in her hands, and I was just screaming at her while standing above her. It was a total disaster. And even thinking about that day makes me feel really uncomfortable about how we both acted because it was not normal. Nothing about it was normal. But once that ordeal was over, I told her that I was done with her, and I wanted her out of the house. She tried to tell me that she was going to break things off with the other guy that day, and that she just wanted me to give our marriage another shot. But I told her that as long as she was here, I wouldn't be able to think about anything other than her affair, and I needed some time to think. So until then, I wanted her out of the house. There were a lot of arguments because she insisted that we could stay together and work things out. It would be the right thing to do. But at that time, I was still struggling to even come to terms with the fact that she had been cheating on me. So working things out or leaving her was all secondary to me, to make up my mind. First, I had to process everything that happened, and for that, I needed her to be away from me. I didn't even want to breathe the same air as her, because I was disgusted by what she had done, and I hated and resented her so much at the time that I couldn't be around her. But she kept refusing to leave, so I got really frustrated, and I told her that I would leave instead, because I couldn't stand to be around her anymore. She was still upset, and said that I couldn't leave because she wanted to sort things out and still stay married to me, because it had just been a mistake. and I couldn't leave her over something like this. But I didn't even dignify that with a response and just left. I didn't bother to pack anything, and I just started driving aimlessly because I didn't even know where I was going to go. It wasn't until I was running on fumes that I realized I needed to crash somewhere for the night. So I headed to the closest hotel, and I've been stuck here ever since. Things have been pretty rough with Emily and me. I've tried my best to get over what she did and forgive her, but I just can't. So last week, I finally pulled the trigger on a divorce. After thinking it over for 3 days, I hadn't talked to Emily since I stormed out of the house that day, even though she's been trying to get in touch with me. The truth is, I don't even have anything left to say to her because what she did is something I can never forgive or forget. However, my in-laws have been checking in on me, texting me every single day to make sure I'm holding up okay. I've been keeping in touch with them too, because when I reached out to my parents for help, they were pretty useless. They just said they were sorry about everything and that I should do what feels right, which is just such generic and dumb advice. So talking to them wasn't going to help, and I knew that they didn't even try to comfort me or anything. So I started talking to my in-laws instead. I haven't told any of my friends yet, but I don't need some emotional support, which is why I've been leaning on them. Most people might think it's weird, but I'm really close to them, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. After I filed for divorce and once Emily got served, she started blowing up my phone even more, but I hadn't opened any of her messages or bothered to read them. I had also muted all her notifications, so it didn't really bug me, but that didn't mean I had forgotten about what happened. I still hadn't moved on, and everything just hurt. To make matters worse, I was also having a tough time at work because I had to take an unexplained leave of absence. I mean, I couldn't exactly go to work every day now that I was living in a hotel out in the boonies, and the commute would be a total drag. I was almost out of paid leave, and my boss hit me up a few days ago to let me know that if I didn't show up to work in the next few days, I'd be facing the boot. This stressed me out even more because I had a bunch of big expenses coming up since divorce is a pricey deal, and I also had to start looking for a new everything, from houses to jobs, and I'd been spilling all of this to my in-laws, just chatting. I didn't actually expect them to step in or anything, but when I laid it all out for them, they told me that since it was Emily who had backed me into a corner, they were going to sort this out for me. I have no idea what they were planning, but a couple of hours later, they told me that I needed to haul over to their house ASAP because Emily was there, and they wanted us to hash it out. I didn't have to talk about the divorce, but we could at least figure out who got to live in the house because Emily could still crash with them. But I needed my own spot so I could keep going to work. I was hesitant to do it at first because I really didn't want to talk to Emily, but my in-laws talked me into coming over and giving it a shot because they didn't want me to lose my job over this. So eventually, I agreed, and I headed over to their place. I was naturally super nervous because I was seeing Emily after quite a while, but I also didn't want to let her know that I was nervous. So I kept my mouth shut for the first few minutes that I was in the room. Both of us avoided even looking at each other, and it wasn't until the in-laws started talking that we had anything to say. My in-laws suggested that I take over the house because Emily could live with them, and since they all worked in the same place, it wouldn't be a problem. But it could mess things up for me if I didn't get the house, because otherwise I'd lose my job. And that's when something really weird happened. Emily started saying that she didn't even know why she would have to be the one to make such sacrifices when it was my fault that we were getting divorced. And she told her parents that as her parents, they should be on her side instead of siding with a cheater. She said that she knew and understood that they liked me, but this was taking things too far. None of us had any clue what she was talking about and just kept staring at her, waiting for her to explain what the heck she was going on about. Her tone was super indignant and full of conviction. So I actually started to think that she might have something to say this time, and it might make sense. But unfortunately, she started speaking total nonsense, and I quickly caught on, realizing that she was just trying to make me look bad in front of her parents so that they wouldn't side with me anymore, and was literally lying about me right in front of me. So Emily actually didn't know that it was her parents who had told me about the affair. So she had probably assumed that I had sent a detective after her to get those photos myself. She had no idea about her parents being involved. So she started making up some false story about me having an affair with a common friend. She claimed that apparently she had seen how the two of us would always act very cozy whenever all of us were hanging out, and she had edited some images and brought out photos that made it look like I was hanging out with that friend of mine and doing romantic things with her, like having dinner and stuff. She said she only had her affair because she found out about us and felt hurt, and apparently her co-worker had been hitting on her for ages, so she just agreed to go out with him to get back at me and distract herself. But now that everything was out in the open, she told her parents that she expected them to kick me out of the house and cut me off for good. She told them that she didn't like their relationship with me and wanted it to end because she was convinced that I was the one who had asked them to get involved, even now, or even told them about the divorce initially, and manipulated them to believe me instead of her and make myself look like the victim, and had asked them to set up this meeting between us. I knew she was toast at that point because she had just dug herself into a hole she couldn't climb out of because she had made up a fake story to expose me and win her parents back, which was pretty much the worst thing she could do given the situation. And sure enough, her mom started yelling at her almost right away and said that she couldn't believe she thought we would always be dumb enough to fall for her lies and her badly edited photos. Emily was totally caught off guard by that reaction. It was clearly not what she was expecting. Her parents told her that they had expected her to be honest, at least after she got caught, but clearly they had messed up somewhere while raising her because she had turned into a terrible lying cheater. Then the big reveal happened, and my in-laws finally told her that it was them who had told me about the affair and given me the photos. So there was no point in lying to them and trying to save face because everybody knew the truth. And man, Emily's face at that moment was something to see. Then they got into a huge fight, which was inevitable because Emily felt betrayed. She said she hated how they always treated me like their own son but were ready to sell out their own daughter for my sake. And her parents were naturally pretty upset about how she turned out. They also called her stupid for not realizing that they were the ones who had told me about the affair, since they had confronted her about it before and asked her several times if she had anything going on with that co-worker. And she told them that it had crossed her mind that they might have told me, but it seemed ridiculous. I mean, at the end of the day, they were her parents, and she expected a certain degree of loyalty from them, no matter what she was up to. So they kept arguing for a while, and she stormed out after some time, saying that she didn't want to talk to any of us because she was just done with everyone. She was pretty upset, and I kind of felt bad for her because I could understand that not having your own parents on your side, that's going to sting. But after things had calmed down a bit, my in-laws told me that they had made up their minds. They said they were going to change the will and make me the sole heir to their inheritance, because clearly Emily did not deserve it. And they wanted me to have it because they felt like it was more appropriate. It was a huge move, and I felt uncomfortable taking money from them, especially such a big amount, because I would basically be taking it away from Emily. So I told them that I needed some time to think about it because this was a big deal, and I couldn't just say yes and be done with it. There were going to be consequences from this, and I wanted to think it all through before I made a decision about what to do. So I told them that I wanted to take my time and think about it before I said anything, and they agreed. They told me I had all the time in the world to think it over, but it's been days, and I'm still not sure if it's the right thing to do morally and ethically. I know Emily messed up our marriage by cheating on me, but the amount of money I'm going to inherit and take away from her is huge, and I'm not sure if it's fair or not. I've been going back and forth on this, and I'm totally lost right now, which is why I'm here. So, would I be the jerk if I decided to take away my cheating, soon-to-be ex-wife's inheritance worth $2 million? Update 1. Thanks so much for all your helpful comments and support. Guys, I'm doing okay emotionally, thank goodness. And I've been talking it over with my friends too. They think I should take the money because what Emily did to me was messed up. And if her parents want to fix things by making me the heir to their inheritance, then I should just go for it because I deserve it. They also reminded me that not only did Emily cheat on me, but she also tried to make it look like I was the one cheating first, with all those pictures and stuff. And her parents might have even believed her if they didn't know the truth. So when it was clear that she would do anything to avoid taking the blame, then I shouldn't go easy on her either. And I think that's a fair judgment of her character. And I've made up my mind. I don't think I need to turn down the inheritance because she didn't care about my feelings when she was out there cheating on me and trashing our marriage for some guy she barely knew for a few months. So there's no reason for me to overthink what I'm doing. Besides, if she wants to be mad at anybody, it should be her parents she's mad at, because I don't owe her anything. Not anymore, at least. Update 2. So I finally got back in touch with my in-laws today and told them I was ready to accept their terms, and they seemed really happy. They told me they were glad to have the chance to make things right with me, because what Emily did was seriously messed up. They said that after that fight at their house the other day, she stopped talking to them and blocked them everywhere. She also put in her 2 weeks' notice and stopped showing up to work right then and there, and so did her partner. I was shocked that she was ready to quit her job too because, as far as I knew, my father-in-law was actually grooming her to take over when he retired, so now he'd have to find someone else. It was crazy because I knew how much she loved her job, yet she was willing to throw it all away just because she thought, for whatever reason, she didn't deserve to be called out for her actions. I could hear the disappointment in my father-in-law's voice when he told me about it because, sure, Emily had messed everything up for herself, but she was still their daughter and their only child. It was fascinating to me that for my in-laws, doing the right thing and standing up for what's right was more important than giving in to their child's wishes. And I've got to say, not many parents in the world would be able to do that and sacrifice their relationship with their only child. I tried to comfort them, but just saying things didn't feel like enough. So I decided to visit them tomorrow and spend some time with them, because I know they must be feeling lonely and hurt with everything that's going on. So it's been a few weeks since I left my house, and I've been living in a hotel since then. Unfortunately, I got fired from my job, but the good news is that my father-in-law talked to a friend of his and got me a much better job at his friend's company. So I guess all's well that ends well. The divorce proceedings have started, and things are pretty tense whenever Emily and I meet with the mediator. It's tough for me to ignore her, but I have to. I know for sure that she's already dating the other guy seriously and has even moved in with him, from what I've heard. I can't say I'm shocked, but I'm a bit disappointed because I thought it would take her a bit longer to fully move on from me. After all, we were together for a really long time, but clearly that means nothing to her. I'm going to try and make sure that it means nothing to me either now. Things with my in-laws are okay, though. We don't talk to Emily anymore, and neither does she. We try to avoid mentioning her at all, because it's a sensitive topic for all of us. It's sad, but at least we are a family now. They haven't changed their will yet, but they're going to do it after the divorce is finalized and make sure that Emily doesn't find out about it until after they're gone. We try to meet up often because we know we're all going through the same thing, and we can only support each other and hope that it gets better with time, and hopefully it will someday.